When Congressman Elijah Cummings calls you a racist, your reaction is what?
Well, I don't like any group of hate. Hate groups are not for me. Hate groups are not for me.
No matter the color of our skin, we must love each other, show affection for each other, and unite together in condemnation of hatred, bigotry, and violence. To anyone who acted criminally in this weekend's racist violence, you will be held fully accountable. Justice will be delivered. Racism is evil. Racism is evil. Racism is evil. And those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs. I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke. I've been doing it now for 2 weeks. You're probably about the 18th person that's asked me the question. It was very clear. As I said on Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America.
About you.
But I've rejected. How many times do I have to reject? I've rejected David Duke. I've rejected the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. From the time I'm 5 years old, I rejected them. Well, I think the word has really gone down a long way because everybody's called a racist now. Her own party called Nancy Pelosi a racist 2 weeks ago. The word is so overused, it's such a disgrace. And they use it almost when they run out of things to criticize you. They say, he's a racist, he's a racist. Now, in some cases, it's true. There are people that are racist, bad people. But with me, they have a hard time getting away with it, and they don't get away with it.
And as I have said many times before, no matter the color of our skin, no matter the color of our skin, no matter the color of our skin, we all live under the same laws. We all salute the same great flag. And we are all made by the same Almighty God.
Let me just explain. When I put out that I reject the KKK and David Duke, nobody picks it up. You know why they don't? Because they don't want to pick it up.
We must love each other, show affection for each other, and unite together in condemnation of hatred, bigotry, and violence. We must rediscover the bonds of love and loyalty that bring us together as Americans. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans.
So when I tweet about a rejection, almost right after that show ended, because maybe I wasn't clear or something. I mean, how many times do I have to say it?
We are a nation founded on the truth that all of us are created equal. We are equal in the eyes of our Creator. We are equal under the law, and we are equal under our Constitution.
Well, I think the word has really gone down a long way because everybody's called a racist now. Her own party called Nancy Pelosi a racist 2 weeks ago. The word is so overused, it's such a disgrace. But with me, they have a hard time getting away with it, and they don't get away with it. And if you look at what I've done for African Americans, look at the opportunity zones, are tremendous success. I think it's one of the most successful things ever done for the inner city. Don't forget, I told CNN when Chris Christie endorsed me, a very good endorsement, and one of the questions, that question was asked, and I rejected it there. That news conference was like a day before. So I said to myself, how many times do I have to reject or disavow?
David Duke announced his Senate candidacy, claiming your agenda for his own, or essentially saying, glad that you spoke out.
Are you ready before you ask the question?
Newt Gingrich said every Republican should repudiate this guy.
I did, and I do.
Let me ask you this question. What about David Duke is saying to his supporters and followers, vote for Donald Trump. White supremacists are saying, vote. Do you want those votes?
No, I don't want them, and I don't want him to say it.
I can't help if he says it. If he says it, but I don't want it, and if he says it, John, if he says it, he says it, okay? Do I want it? No.
And
Do
you
I
don't
want
want the supporters?
No, I don't want anything. Last time, with another person in your position, I did it very quickly, and they said he didn't do it fast enough. Rebuked. Is that okay? Rebuked.
Rebuked.
Done.
Done.
What do you
How
think
many
of white
times-
supremacists, by the way?
I don't like any group of hate. Hate groups are not for me. I don't like any group of hate. Hate groups are not for me. Hate groups are not for me. Hate groups are not for me. But I've said this before. The press hates me to say it. They just don't want to pick it up.
Mr. Trump, how do you feel about the recent endorsement from David Duke?
I didn't even know he endorsed me. David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow.
To put this to rest, how would you characterize in more words than one David Duke?
David Duke is a bad person who I disavowed on numerous occasions over the years. And the one question that was asked to me, I guess on CNN, he's having a great time, he talked about groups of people. And I don't like to disavow groups if I don't know who they are. I mean, you could have Federation of Jewish Philanthropies and groups. I don't know who the groups are. He's talking about disavow groups. And that's what I was referring to. But I disavowed him. I disavowed him. I disavowed the KKK. I just did the Today Show, and it was the same thing. And I said, how many times do I have to disavow? Do you want me to do it again for the 12th time?
Well, I wanted it on the record on this show. Let me follow up, and then I'll open it up to the table.
Just to put it clear, I disavowed him in the past, and I disavow him now. And it was very clear that I disavowed, but the press doesn't want to go with it. They just love the story.
It's incredible what's happened. But between that criminal justice reform, and then, of course, the biggest thing is the lowest unemployment rate in the history of this country for African Americans. Lowest in the history by far. It's not even close. So when you see those things, and when people, I mean, if the news, the lamestream or mainstream or whatever you want to call it, media, or fake news, if it would be covered, people would feel a lot different. But they don't talk about that. They don't talk about opportunity zones.
Ku Klux Klan here, and you said, honestly, I don't know David Duke.
Okay, so let me tell you, I'm sitting in a house in Florida with a very bad earpiece that they gave me, and you could hardly hear what he was saying. But what I heard was various groups, and I don't mind disavowing anybody, and I disavowed David Duke, and I disavowed him the day before at a major news conference, which is surprising because he was at the major news conference, CNN was at the major news conference, and they heard me very easily disavow David Duke. Now I go and I sit down again. I have a lousy earpiece that is provided by them. And frankly, he talked about groups. He also talked about groups. And I have no problem with disavowing groups, but I'd at least like to know who they are. It would be very fair to disavow a group, Matt, if the group shouldn't be disavowed. I have to know who the groups are. But I disavowed David Duke. Now, if you look on Facebook, right after that, I also disavowed David Duke. When we looked at it and looked at the question, I disavowed David Duke. So I've disavowed David Duke all weekend long on Facebook, on Twitter, and obviously it's never enough.
Racism is evil.
I don't like any group of hate. Hate groups are not for me. Hate groups are not for me. Hate groups are not for me.